The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hi, I'm Shelby Wagner. Welcome to Learning to Dance in the Rain, where we talk about important life issues and trying to cope with them and hoping to get new ideas so that we can be resilient and move on to more and better things. Today's guest, I'm very happy to introduce, is Ruth Mancina. And she is the Marketing and Life Enrichment Manager for St. Joseph County Commission on Aging. Welcome, Ruth.
Hi.
Thank
Glad
you
to be here.
I'm glad to see you too. I have known you for several years here, just a little bit, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you even better today. So would you please tell us about yourself a little bit and then about your job?
Sure. So I've lived in Kalamazoo, Portage area for over 10 years now, about 14 years. I grew up in the Metro Detroit area, but my mom grew up in Kalamazoo. And so when my mom and dad, retired, they moved back to this area. And then my husband and I eventually moved here too, just so that we could be closer to them and help them out a little bit as they got older. I have a journalism degree from Central Michigan. And I worked as a newspaper reporter for a couple of years in the beginning of my career. And then I kind of transitioned into marketing and public relations. And I've been doing that ever since for like a historical museum. And then when we moved to Kalamazoo, I've been working for the Commission on Aging for quite some time. And I love it here because I love seniors and I love planning fun things for them to do. So that's pretty what my job is to oversee all the activities and life enrichment programs that we have going on at our two senior centers.
I see. So how long has there been a Commission on Aging here in St. Joseph County, Michigan?
So last year was our 50th anniversary. So we celebrated 50 years. And I did like kind of we had, celebrated all year long, and we had lots of activities going on throughout the year, but part of my job was to, kind of do the history of the COA and how it got started, and how it's grown, and evolved into what it is today. So, but 50 years is a long time that we've been helping seniors in St. Joe County.
How widespread is the commission? I'd never heard of it really before I moved here about 6 years ago.
Okay. So you mean like in general, Commission on Aging, like, so every, I can't really speak to other states. I'm not totally sure how they do it, but like in Michigan, we operate not a lot, but some of our funding comes through the state of Michigan, and that's state dollars and federal dollars that have come through because of the older Michigan, the Older Americans Act. And I think it was President Nixon who signed that act to kind of come up with some money for, primarily it came about because of Meals on Wheels, helping get food to people that were homebound. And then that's where that money kind of evolved into some other things that it supports. But so in Michigan, there's regions with that have agencies that kind of oversee a region. And so most counties have some type of Commission on Aging. They might call them a Council on Aging. They might call them other names. I think in Kalamazoo County, it's called Senior Services which is now called Milestones, if I'm not mistaken. So everyone has different names, and every community some counties rely strictly like on their county budget to kind of help pay for it. Some communities, like I said, we get state and federal dollars. And then some communities like St. Joe County, we're very fortunate to have a local millage that we've had for a very long time. And it comes up for renewal every 6 years. It's up for renewal this year in August. It is just a renewal. And that's a big part of our budget and helps pay for Meals on Wheels and like everything that I do, all the activities that I do. And I pay like for exercise instructors that I use the millage money to help pay for that. So that's kind of how it works in the state of Michigan.
So, how does the Meals on Wheels work? I had broken my foot about 5 years ago, and I participated. But can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so sometimes it can be for something like that, like just coming home from the hospital, and you just need it for a little while just to kind of help you get through while you're recovering. But there's a lot of seniors, as the whole goal of a commission on aging, and any commission on aging or council on aging, their goal is the reason that we are in these communities is we want seniors to stay in their home for as long as it's possible with whatever support we can provide, because everybody wants to stay in their home. They don't want to, most people I would think don't want to go into move or go into a nursing home or assisted living. So as long as it's safe and for the senior, we can provide some things that keep people in their home, and Meals on Wheels is a big part of it, because nutrition can be really a challenge for seniors when they get older. My mom is going to be 96 in a couple months, and I would say that food is like the hardest thing for her to manage, whether getting Meals on Wheels or whatever it is. So we deliver to about 200 seniors in St. Joe County Monday through Friday. They can get just one meal, it comes, in late morning, right around lunchtime. They can heat it back up for dinner, or they can eat it then. They also have the option to order a second, like cold meal that they can have for later in the day, or have that at lunchtime. So they can get up to 2 meals a day. And then meals on the weekends too, but they're delivered, Monday through Friday. So probably the driver, I think, brings those meals on Friday to get them through the weekend, just to ensure that they have a nutritious meal every day of the week. And when people are thinking that they might need Meals on Wheels, people always think it is people who are most likely homebound, have difficulty getting out of their home, driving. But there's other reasons why someone might be eligible for Meals on Wheels. Of course, people who are coming from home from the hospital, and like you mentioned, you might need a little bit of extra help. But sometimes some people might just have difficulty cooking for themselves, or cooking a nutritious meal for themselves for whatever reason. They just have a hard time maybe standing or cooking, and because of a physical or other issue, and they might be eligible for Meals on Wheels that way. So there is a person that works for the Commission on Aging that you talk to, and they kind of do like a mini assessment over the phone to kind of talk to you and see what your needs are. And sometimes it's with a family member. A lot of times we get the kids, calling and saying, hey, I think my mom or dad need Meals on Wheels. But they'll talk to us, and we'll kind of go over it with them and find out if they're eligible for Meals on Wheels, and and then they can start the next day. That's how quickly it can happen. So it's a wonderful program, and in our county, because of our funding, we do send out like an invoice, but it is a suggested donation. And when we start services with someone, we go over that with them and talk about what do you think you can afford, and then they kind of agree to pay that. But it is in some places they have to charge a certain amount for the Meals on Wheels, but Here it is, people can pay, what they can afford. So it's wonderful.
And you have meals right in the buildings of the Three Rivers and in Sturgis for
Yeah. Yeah.
the school, right? And
Yep.
that's also a donation, or
As a suggested like contribution, I think it's maybe up to 350 now. It's still really cheap, but you know, um, again, it might be, it's another situation of, now these are for seniors who are maybe a little bit more active and want to get out, but still, it's just much more than just food. I know, I wish people would understand that Meals on Wheels and the food that we serve at the centers, it's a something for people where they can be with other people. And that is a huge, in addition to just getting proper nutrition as you age, you also need that emotional, social connection. And coming to whether you're getting a Meals on Wheels is for people who are really struggling, but that's part of the drivers. They don't just drop the meal off and knock on the door and run back to their truck. They actually have to see the senior and talk to them. Make sure, I'd say everybody who gets Meals on Wheels loves their drivers. They talk about them because they're this friendly person coming to check on them every day to say, how are you doing? Is everything okay? And if they think that there's something not quite right, they let us know, and then we can start calling other agencies in the community that might be able to provide some more assistance. But then here at the center too, I mean, I see it every single day. People just coming here for a class, coming here to exercise or play cards, and then they stay and have lunch. And it's just a nice way to spend your day instead of sitting at home, alone.
oh,
You know,
absolutely. Right, yeah.
yeah.
Um, I met a man in Coldwater on one of the dating sites a few years back, and he was, I think, 80. And I said to him, "Hey, do you go to the COA over there in Coldwater?" He says, "What's that?" And I told him, Commission on Aging. I said, "I like to play euchre and pinochle and that at that time." And I was learning to dance and do the line dances and so on. You know what he said to me? He says, "I didn't think I was old enough."
He didn't think he was old enough.
No, and he was 80. So is there an age?
Yeah, I know. My parents were like that. They're, like I said, they're in their 90s, and for a long time they thought, well, I don't need to go to the senior center. I don't need it. But they're it's so funny that people feel that way, which probably is a good thing. But
But
um,
there is an age limit, right? That where they can't come in at 40 and say, "Hey, I want
yes, they do have to be 60. They do have to be 60, and they could be married to somebody who is 60, and they could be younger. So as long as your spouse is 60 or older, or you're 60 or older, and because we receive funding from the federal government, you can live in another county and participate in our Commission on Aging, in our activities, and eating and stuff like that. The Meals on Wheels has to be in the county. Um,
okay, yeah,
that is a rule that they do, and or to get, like, we also provide help in the home with like aides that will come into your home and do some light housekeeping or do some personal care if you're struggling to bathe yourself or to vacuum or do some dishes. We have aides that will come into the home and do that, and that's another, again, just something that we want to provide with. Again, the whole premise is we want to keep you in your home. And if keeping your home clean or keeping yourself clean or feeding yourself, those are all barriers sometimes where people are like, well, gosh, I have to move into assisted living or to a nursing home because I can't do these things anymore. Then, that's what we're trying to do, is help people, so that they can stay in their home and be still safe and healthy.
that's very interesting. I was just wondering. The surgeon told me I was not to do any heavy lifting and whatever for 12 weeks. Well, oh golly, that takes me up till July almost. And I was just wondering about, well, maybe I could use the vacuum cleaner. I'm feeling so good. And my friend Rick said, no, he told you no vacuuming. So maybe I just have to call the COA and ask about that help that I need right now in the next couple of months.
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of what we do again. Like again, people. It's called Road to Recovery. I think it's like for people coming out of the hospital that need some extra help. I do know that, like with all agencies that provide that type of help, we're struggling to find, enough aides to meet the demand. So I do know there is a bit of a waiting list to get help in the home, not with Meals on Wheels that we can do immediately, but the aides, we just don't have enough aides to go to all the homes that people are calling about. So I do know there is a bit of a waiting list for that.
So suppose someone listening wanted to, is that volunteer or help become an aide? Do you have to have training or?
Yeah, that's a paid position. It's part-time, but because it's going into, we take that pretty seriously of coming into contact with seniors that are probably our most vulnerable or, frail citizens. So we do have we're looking to hire more aides. So if someone wanted a part-time job, that you can kind of schedule your own hours. It's very flexible. You're responsible for scheduling your time with your clients. So it's kind of a nice job for someone like a mother who wants to be home with her kids during certain times of the day, like when they get home from school, but maybe wants to, make a little extra money while they're in school. Sometimes we get, college students that are going into healthcare professions that want to have a part-time job while they're going to Glen Oaks. We're always looking for people that who are interested in, working with older adults and maybe in the healthcare professions is a plus. You don't have to. But definitely we want them to get a little screening by us and kind of do a background check because they're going into, seniors' homes and we want to make sure that they're good to go. So, but we're always looking to hire more aides, that's for sure. There is a demand and it's just going to get bigger, the demand.
Oh yeah. One of the things I noticed was the what do you call it, the restaurant discount coupons. I mean, when I first started, we could get 5.
Right.
Now,
I think at one time it was 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, how come has it got more people involved in that restaurant?
Yeah. So the restaurant program is a wonderful program, but it is, it's kind of just like, it's not something that I would say is like critical, like Meals on Wheels and the help in the home. And so as the cost of food has gotten so much higher, the restaurants, are need to meet their costs, we're reimbursing them for the cost of the meal. The rest, because you guys, when people come and buy those restaurant tickets, I think they're $5 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pay the rest of that cost. We pay it to the rep, we reimburse the restaurant for the remainder of that cost of that meal. $3, $4, $5. I don't know what it is, but it's a, couple $100,000 in our budget. And so as things are getting more and more, the cost of food is getting more and more, kind of high like that.
Every place, every restaurant, I believe. I mean, I can't even eat at McDonald's for less than 15 anymore, hardly.
I know. It's terrible. So we've tried to, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that that's why we've had to kind of cut down on the number of coupons we could let, people use each month because we just can't really, we have to put that money, think about where that money that we're getting from the millage and the state and the federal government, it's really got to go to help, seniors who, and part of the restaurant program again is just one more piece of the puzzle of things that we do to encourage people to, get out, socialize. That's all, it goes in, perfect alignment with our mission of what we want for seniors. However, it is kind of a, just kind of a nice treat.
Yeah.
Whereas the Meals on Wheels is completely, like really for some people, it's just, so dire that they get that food every day. So, yeah.
It's a wonderful program. And what types of um, ac- activities or whatever that volunteers can do?
Oh, yeah. So we just, speaking of that, we just, usually the end of April, like this, is Volunteer Appreciation Month and Volunteer Appreciation Week. So our volunteer base is, took kind of a hit during COVID. We lost a lot of our volunteers, and we've been kind of building that back up again. But we're always looking for volunteers in the kitchen, maybe to help package food up for delivery, those cold meals I was telling you about, or just rolling silverware for the lunch at the centers, or so there's always some help in the nutrition area. I always am looking for volunteers, like in activities, people help me with like the crafts, or they might help decorate, for holidays, we have to decorate the centers, and there's just me, kind of handling things here in Three Rivers. And then my counterpart in Sturgis is Cindy Batten. She plans a lot of the activities that we do. And so I always look for people that want to come and help us. Some people volunteer to like beautify, keep the outside of our centers beautiful. So anyone who likes to really do gardening, or, plants flowers, or clean up some of the beds. There's people that volunteer to do that. We have volunteer, like a bus driver and a chaperone, who take our seniors on trips. So all sorts of volunteers that help us, because we don't have a very big staff. So we really appreciate, anyone that can help.
Well, I know the trips seem to be very popular, and some of the other things, it's kind of hard to get into them. By the time I find out about them, they're already full.
Definitely. I mean, we've tried so many different ways, but this seems to be the best. Is like tomorrow morning, actually, I have to tell myself, do not be late for work, Ruth, because at 8 a.m., there'll be people lined up at both centers, and there'll be people calling. And the phone for the COA doesn't just ring into Three Rivers. It rings in simultaneously to our Sturgis Center and our Three Rivers Center. So anyone can pick up the phone. It rings to the 2 reception desks. And if they don't pick it up right away because they're helping somebody, then it rings into all of our offices. So very rarely would you ever have to leave a message, general message. Sometimes, I'm not at my desk, obviously, but so we all answer the phone at the same time. So there's like 6 or 7 of us answering the phone that morning, and the trips sell out within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If I had the money, I would definitely look into buying another bus, or a bigger bus, but I just don't have the money. So the trips are really popular. Yeah.
They sure are. And I believe you have an event that's coming up pretty soon that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Would you like to do that now?
Yeah. So, yeah, part of my job is definitely thinking about trips and crafts and guest speakers. And by far, the biggest part of my budget goes to exercise instructors. We try to hire people who are certified, and the seniors like coming to the senior center to exercise. That's really a big draw, because there's no charge, and the we have really, really good instructors here at both our centers. I feel so lucky to have who we have on staff. But then every once in a while, I also plan, big events or special events, and we do get some grant dollars to provide education on caregiving. And caregiving has become a huge issue for senior citizens. And again, just as the number of seniors is, growing, you can look at our census numbers and our statistics, and you'll see that, in the next 10 years, our population will be heavily seniors. And everyone's going to be a senior. Sometimes I look at people who are in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, and they're not. Oh, I just feel like saying, it's going to be you one day. So think about that, and but something that we can all relate to is that almost all of us will probably be caring for someone that we love. It could be a grandparent, raising a grandchild because the parents, for whatever reason, can't. It can be I'm caring for my spouse, and it could be someone, like in my position. There's a lot of people like in my position who are in their 50s and 60s who have parents who need a lot of help, and you might not be living with them and caring with them full time, but you are there's a lot of some people are providing a lot of care. So, and caregiving can be so hard on the person doing the caregiving, the stress, the financial cost, there's whole sets of things that can really, put so much stress on the relationship and the person that's doing the caregiving, the guilt, the lack of sleep, like I said, financial stress, whatever it might be. So I thought about it, and I have this money from the state of Michigan to do some caregiving support and education. And I decided to bring in someone that is kind of considered an expert in the field, to bring her into our community because St. Joe County doesn't always get, kind of big name speakers or events like that, and pay to have her come. And she does a show, a performance, a one woman show that is very emotional, very, it's hard not to laugh and cry when you watch her, because her mother was from Ireland and came to America, and then her mother became ill with dementia, and she was her primary caregiver, and she does a show about what that experience was like, and it's really good. So I had her, she's from the Ann Arbor area, and she's going to come and do her show on Tuesday, June 11th at the Three Rivers High School, the Performing Arts Center. So we have lots of room, and it's free, and I'm providing free dinner. So you can start calling tomorrow, May 1st. You can start calling the COA, and I think I have a link on our website that goes live tomorrow too, where you could sign up there. Anyone can come. It doesn't have to be someone who's a senior citizen, because like I said, it could be someone in their 50s or 40s, who's caring for a parent. It could be an aide, you work at, or that's your job, is that you work as a caregiver, as an aide. I really can't think of anyone that it wouldn't be helpful and, just kind of emotional to see something like this. It's really good. She did a performance up north for the Michigan Association of Senior Centers, and my boss was at that event, and like a conference for the executive directors of senior centers, and she saw her performance, and so she came back and said we have to have her come and perform. So we're going to put on a nice dinner, and then the show, and then there's like a dessert reception afterwards. But if you want to come, all you got to do is call the COA and say you want to come.
So what about if there were people that are caregivers that find out about this maybe on June 1st or something? Is that too late to call, or?
No, we'll take reservations. Yeah, I'm just starting to take reservations tomorrow because I had, just because of my newsletter and how I kind of do things is let people sign up for things on the 1st. If we waited till June 1st, we were cutting it kind of close for our caterer. But of course, people are going to probably call right up until, we got to give the caterer about a week's notice, I think, or, just a little bit of, so she can make sure she has enough food. But we're hoping to, fill that theater with people. I mean, I think, like I said, anyone in St. Joe County or surrounding counties is welcome to come.
Well, that sounds like would really be a good thing to happen.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So it means a lot to have that, that money from the state, like you take it seriously. Like this is, taxpayers' dollars, grant money, federal dollars, wherever it may come from, but we're trying to put it to the best use possible and to the benefit the most people. And I just thought something like this would, we could reach a lot of people, bring in a really, fantastic performer. She's funny. She's, like I said, she's going to make you cry. And it's just a very emotional performance. And she does it all by herself too. It's kind of cool. So, I hope people will call and sign up.
Did you tell us what time? I don't.
So Tuesday, June 11th at the Three Rivers High School, the Performing Arts Center there. Dinner will be served at 5:30.
Oh, 5:30.
Yep, and then the show's at 7.
Okay. Yeah, I'll write that down. Yeah, okay. Is the dinner in the cafeteria or is that?
Yeah, it's right outside the Performing Arts Center. We're going to set up some tables right outside there, and then we can go in and watch her, and but that's the cafeteria, I think, is right there, so it's going to be right in that area.
Right.
I have some wonderful corporate sponsors, because while we did get grant money for this, it didn't quite cover everything. And because I wanted to make this free, and I wanted to do a free dinner to lure, to encourage as many people to come. So Thurston Woods Village is a sponsor. Absolute Home Care is a sponsor. Three Rivers High School charged us very little, hardly anything, just to cover some employee time. But no rental costs. So I appreciate their support. And Tri-State Health and Wellness, Jeff Armstrong, he has committed to some money. And Ayers Senior Insurance Services in Sturgis is also a sponsor. So I'm really grateful for them to help, so that people that are not 60, we can't really use grant dollars. So they're going to help pay for people of any age to come, to see this. And so if there's someone who's, like I said, in their 30s or 40s or 50s and is a caregiver, they can come and get something out of this program. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
All right. So I'm independent and I live alone. My daughter lives in Brunswick.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is that, although, would that be okay for my daughter to come? Would it be would she learn something about dealing with her mother, who is
right? Because like I said, we're all facing it. And I think that, for us, for myself, especially, it's really been this past few years. My dad passed away, and my mom is alone now. And she's, like I said, she's turning 96, and we're just now moving her into a enhanced living. That's the new, right before you get to assisted living, but she needed a little more care than we could provide. But she was still living independently. But it doesn't really matter what state. Like I said, we're all looking at this, knowing that, my mom is getting older, and how do I cope with her illnesses, or when she's, just getting that aging, and then this, some people start to show signs of dementia, and just navigating all of that. But there's a lot of emotional, baggage that comes with that. And it's just, I think the more that we try to understand and embrace that this is all part of life, the better we're off, and the better our relationships will be with our parents, or if you're married and then you have to start taking care of your spouse. I see a lot of people here that are doing that, and it's hard. It's just really hard. So whatever we can do to kind of help people, that's what this is all about. So yes, definitely your daughter would get something out of it.
Okay. We haven't talked about the housing facility at Three Rivers there.
Oh, yeah.
I had some people say, well, I want to know about that. How does it work?
That was a really cool idea. So when our previous director, we were located where the old library was in Three Rivers, and then the library moved downtown, and we were in that same building with them. But we decided this building that we're in now in Three Rivers had been a hotel, and as I understand, had been vacant for many, many years, just sitting empty. And my previous director thought, well, why don't we purchase that building and renovate it and turn half of it into senior apartments. And then the other half could be the senior center. And it was really just a great idea, because I think that we all know that there can be more senior housing, good senior housing. I mean, there's always a need for that. And
yeah.
I was just talking about how there's going to be, more and more seniors as the years go on, and they're going to need good housing. And that's, every community wants, sometimes we argue about how to pay for these things, but if you want to live in a strong and vibrant community, you want to have good schools. You want to have a good but schools are just a piece of the puzzle. You want to have good outdoor facilities, parks and recreation. You want to have churches and schools and libraries, and make it a vibrant community for everyone. And a part of that is also taking care of your senior citizens. And I just think that's really important to having a really strong community is, the more people that are going into a nursing home in your community, and there's a place for that, but I'm just saying, we want to take good care of our seniors and make sure they have safe and affordable housing. So they took the whole back half of that hotel, which I guess it might have been, like, reminds you like of a holodome, we call it the atrium now, but they took hotel rooms and connected two hotel rooms from across the hall from each other. So the apartments are kind of more longer, you walk into a nice sitting area with a kitchen and open kitchen and seating area for your kitchen and a nice living room. And then you walk down the hallway, and that's really those two hotel rooms that were being connected, that were across the hall from each other. And then you go back to the bedroom. And then that hallway space was converted into like a laundry room. There's opportunity to put in your own laundry machines if you want. You don't have to, because we do have laundry rooms here. And then a nice big bathroom, and then a nice, big bedroom. And there are 6 or 8, I get the number wrong every time. There are some 2-bedroom apartments. So, but those were highly sought after, and there's not a lot of movement, in terms of turnover since we've opened. There's been a little bit, but then, the rest are 1-bedroom. There's 46 apartments.
And they're all full, you said, right?
Yeah, they are full. But, the waiting list is not unbearable. And I think that people sometimes, just think about what you might need in a year or two, and if you can swing the $100, then you can hold your place. And sometimes there's no movement on the apartments, and then sometimes, people move away, they move into a different facility. Let's say they move in with their kids, all sorts of things happen. So it's hard to say like when an apartment is going to become available. But it's a good idea to go ahead and fill out an application, and it's $100 to do that. And then you're on the list.
So you call this, did you say enhanced?
Oh, that was for my mom. My mom is in enhanced living, and we're not that type of facility. So, like a lot of, there's places now where you can, and I don't know if there's anywhere here, but like I'm in Portage, Kalamazoo, where there's some bigger places that start out with independent living, assisted living, and then a nursing home, and they have it all on one campus. And that's what she's moving into, something like that. So, but they've started now with something that's kind of in between an independent living and not quite assisted living, and they call it enhanced living. So the biggest issue for her was eating, because she's just losing so much weight. So they provide the food at all 3 meals, and that was huge. Here at our place here in Three Rivers, it is just strictly independent senior apartments. You do have to be 60. or married to someone who is 60 to live here. But other than that, it's independent. Now, living here, you have accessibility to the senior center, so you could eat lunch here every day, Monday through Friday. You can participate in any of the activities, and all you got to do is walk out your front door, and you're right there. I think the location is great. I see a lot of the people who live here walking to Aldi or Myers or, Home Depot. And then across the street, obviously, is the hospital and the bowling alley and stuff. So it's a really great location. I think the price of the apartments is affordable. I forgot to grab my brochure. You're probably going to say, well, what's the cost of a 1-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom? I knew it. I think they're somewhere in the 800 something range, if I'm not mistaken, for a 1-bedroom, and maybe 900 for a 2-bedroom, but don't quote me on that. But it's 800 or 900, and all utilities are included, which is really nice. And I think that all you have to worry about when you move in is getting some internet. You have to get that on your own, but everything else is taken care of. So it's a nice little community. People like it.
So you have to be, though, physically to a certain part, independent or pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are some people who live in the apartments that are, use a walker or, but they are independent living. No one's coming in. I mean, unless they, have their own aides or have some help coming into their apartment, that certainly is their prerogative. But they do have to be able to live independently.
Okay. Well, I think you've answered all of the questions I could think about. Do you have anything else you would like to say before it's almost time for me to close here?
Okay. Well, I could talk about the Commission on Aging all day long, if you can't tell. I was just telling someone today how much I love my job.
It seems like you do. And
Yeah.
Very, very nice. I especially enjoyed the ballroom dancing class now. Used to enjoy the card games too, but I've been so busy, I haven't been able to get back over there to them. But
Yeah.
Well,
it feels good to be able to, just see seniors coming to a place and laughing with their friends, doing something they like, whether it's euchre, bingo, dancing. I just think that is so important for people to age gracefully and just help with the aging process, because it's hard, and we're trying to make it a little bit better somehow, some way. And so it feels good to be doing that.
I see a lot of smiling faces when I go in there.
Good. That's what I like to hear, that.
Yeah, people are friendly, and I've made some really good friends with the line dancing first, and now even with the ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
Jerry, the teacher, he has been on my program once, and he wanted to come back. So Jerry's going to be here, I think, in 2 weeks.
Oh, great. He's a great guy.
I'm not. He is very interesting person and has done a lot in his life, and so I can hardly wait to get him back here again. And you mentioned the exercise people. They're very good too.
Yes.
That big ball thing.
The cardio.
Is doing that, and the drumming and all that is really they are both very nice facilities, and we're very lucky to have you, and very lucky to have the facilities that we do in the event. So thank you very much. And my audience out here, I don't know, Rebel, did we get any questions? We've been just talking so much, I hadn't even noticed.
No, I think you guys covered everything clearly. It's an awesome program, and y'all are getting a lot of applause for doing everything y'all do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebel. Appreciate that very much. So thank you to the audience for listening. Tell your friends. This goes to the podcast from this live broadcast here. All of my past episodes are on W4 Radio or Talk 4 TV, and on my website, learningtodanceintherain.com, and my YouTube channel. So check us out. We cover a lot of different topics about overcoming obstacles and with resilience. That's my new word, and I love that word.
Good word.
Very good. I have 2 books out, Learning to Dance in the Rain and Scams, your ultimate tool for helping you to keep from being a victim. And I guarantee you're going to fall for one. Those darn scammers are getting smarter and smarter and developing technology we never heard of before.
Yeah, right.
Learn everything that you can about them and be prepared. You know, they call you and you're busy doing something and they mumble something and then they say, "Can you hear me okay?" That's the first clue. Hang up the phone or don't answer the phone if you don't recognize
That's right.
the person that's there. So, and next week we'll welcome back my pastor, Carl Litchfield from Baroque and Menden churches. And I'm not sure what the topic's going to be this time. We've taught 4 weeks on love and true love. So go back to my learningtodanceintherain.com and learn about true love if you're interested in wanting to know. And I bet you know, how long have you been married, Ruth? Did you say?
Oh, 32 years.
32 years. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, my husband died 2 weeks before our 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But yeah, so anyway, come back to hear us next week at same time, same station, 12 o'clock noon on Tuesdays. Thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Rebel, and thank you, audience.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.